have a new higher high, we will always have a new higher low. You guys should have this written down somewhere. So if we have a new higher high, where is the higher low? Well, I get my trusty snake trick, and what I do is I create the head of the snake, and on the head of the snake, I just start following the market back. And as soon as the market then turns, that right there shows me that the snake turned, there was something in the way. Now this becomes the higher low. Very easy, very self-explanatory, right? So this now becomes the higher low. So we can only have a higher low once we have a new higher high. So let's say, for example, this market does this retracement right here, and then we have this push to the upside. If we have a new higher high, we will always have a new higher low. Cool, the higher high is always easy to put, but where is the higher low? Is it at this point or is it at this point? I don't know. Let's bring out our trusty snake trick. And our trusty snake trick, as soon as it first turns and it creates the first point, boom, that right there is going to be the perfect higher low, and it's the exact area where the market turned. So now this is going to be the higher low, right? Pretty easy, pretty self-explanatory. Now, let's say that this market does this right here. What is this right here in the market? This right here in the market is technically nothing. This is just simply a structure point. This has not broken above or below the higher low, so this is just structure. This is just market doing its thing. This is just a stop. This is just a little curve in the road. This is really nothing. Okay, what about this? That right there is nothing. The market has not body candlestick close, and I'll get into the candlesticks in just a second. But the bodies, or the price has not closed below the higher low or above the higher high. Meaning this market right now at this point is still nothing, because we have not broken above this line right here or above this line right here. Cool. What about that right there? Nothing. We have not body candlestick below this line. We have not body candlestick closed above this line. What about now? Okay, we have now officially broken below the higher low. So if we break below the higher low, this market will then turn bearish. So price will go to the lowest low. Now, if we have a new lower low, we will always have a new lower high. We can only have a lower high if we have a new lower low. So how do we identify that lower high or lower low? Well, we're going to use our trusty snake trick to be able to identify our previous structure point. So if this right here is the new lower low, we're going to get the head of the snake, start working our way backwards, and as soon as the market has had a turning point, boom, this turns into the lower high. The lower high is the last structure point where the market had a turning point from. So this right here is going to turn to the lower high. Now, once again, as long as we are inside of this lower high and lower low, we're going to remain bearish. And I'm going to repeat myself a lot, because what is required here for you to understand this market and for you to understand this new language is just repetition. This is going to have a major move like this. Cool, we've broken below the lower low. So this is now the new lower low. Where is the lower high? I don't know, but I do have my trusty snake trick. So I'm going to get the head of the snake. We start working our way backwards, and turn. Now this right here becomes the lower high. Understanding that that is now the lower high, the market can remain inside of this lower high and this lower low, and we're going to remain bearish. This market can literally do all the structure point that it wants. As long as we are inside of this lower high and lower low, we are bearish, right? Pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory. Now let's say this market does this. Oh shit, now what? No problem, no big deal. The market has now broken above the lower high. So guess what? We are now bullish. This becomes the higher high. And where is the higher low? Because if we have a new higher high, we will always have a new higher low. Okay, so if we have a new higher high, where is the higher low? I don't know. Let's bring out our trusty snake trick. It's the head of the snake. We start just working our way back, and turning point. This right here is the higher low. So our snake trick helps us identify where that higher low and where that lower high is going to be placed into the market, so we have a clear understanding of where the market is at this point right now. Now we use the line chart that we're using right now to be able to very clearly identify this structure point. So right here, we are using the line chart to tell if something is bullish or bearish. So we know that this is the higher low and that this is the higher high. As long as we remain inside of this right here, we are bullish. If we break above, once again, this becomes the higher high. This becomes the higher low. If from this point right here, we break below, this becomes the lower low, and then this becomes the lower high, right? Pretty self-explanatory, just repeating the same thing in many different types of examples, right? Cool. Now, let's come back to this example right here, right? Is this market bullish or is this market bearish, right? Let's find out if you are right about this trade and if you were right about the correct point, right? Because if you have, I'm gonna write this down as another note, once you identify the market being bullish or bearish, you need to place the higher low, higher high, lower low. My computer gets a little bit slow. You need to place the higher high, higher low, lower low, and lower high. Once you identify the market being bullish or bearish, you could only identify that by being bullish or bearish by placing the higher high point and the higher low point. If not, the market cannot be bullish or bearish. So for example's purposes, let's begin from over here, right? This market at this point, when we are identifying this market, let's make this all the way to the left. This is the